Hello, everybody. We are back for the final series of the day with FlyQuest Challenger versus AOE, one of the provisional teams taking on one of the Challenger teams to close it out on this stream. And we got Rafa back with us, of course, on the broadcast. Welcome back, Rafa.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. And props to Bradley, man. I think last year, Bradley was definitely a little bit more shy in the first few interviews, but this guy was super outgoing. He is a top S-tier shiller for sponsorship reads as well. I hope Honda and Alienware pay their dues.
That is a franchise player there, everybody. Not only his quote about the mentality outside of the game, everything should be about what your goal is, which to Bradley, make an LCS, but he's also going to shout out the sponsor. I mean, come on.
I mean, that kid is going to be a star. Everybody knows he's going to do well. It's just a matter of time before he gets his shot.
Exactly. But speaking of people that are going to be stars soon, Rafa, we're happy that you're on the broadcast with us today, but we know that there's another broadcast that you're prepping for going forward, so we're going to throw it over to a quick little video that we made for you. Hopefully we can get your live reaction for. So let's see it.
Oh, it's the video.
Ladies and gentlemen, Silver Scrapes.
Congratulations, Rafa! Go show him what NA Grassroots is all about, King.
Mark, I always knew you were going to get this. You deserve it. Kick ass in the LCS. Good luck. We're all counting on you.
Rafa, congratulations. You are going to crush it. We're all so proud of you.
Rafa, congrats on LCS, man. Can't wait to see all the musical content that you make with the crew, and make sure to not forget about us down here now that you're famous.
Rafa, you were the first person that I casted with, and seeing how much you've grown in the last 3 years as a professional and a friend has been incredible. Go give him hell in LCS. Cover that league the only way that you can now.
Congratulations, Rafa. All the hard work and passion in the world. You deserve it, brother. You did that. You did it, and I know you're going to kill it in the LCS. Bring that Hispanic panic for the both of us, brother.
Yo, I remember sitting in a hotel room with you, Mark, and saying you would eventually have to move out to LA to make this work, and here we are. We're right here. But I just want you to remember, you deserve every single bit of this, so congratulations, man.
So again, Rafa, congratulations on LCS, man. Well deserved.
Thank you. I'm always moved by the last couple of messages because I think they hit the most, especially like back in 2019 when I was first starting out. I looked up to pretty much all you guys, and I was like, hey, I feel like kind of good, but I don't know what the next step is, and me and Josh had a long conversation about it, and 4 years later, here we are. It's just, that's what the grind and just persistence sometimes can help, right?
Yeah. Joshi, don't tell us what else happened in that hotel room before.
Mostly Super Smash Brothers, but it's okay.
Oh, okay. Happy to hear.
We were smashing.
Rafa, you're going to be on Thursday, I believe. Hopefully I'm not spoiling anything, so we'll all be cheering you on live at the studio, too. I think as many of us that can make it out live in person will be going for that. But with that said, let's take a look at the updated matches of the day today, because this is the show that we're going to close out. FlyQuest Challenger versus AOE is up next. We've already finished up CLG Challenger versus FlyFam, the provisional team associated with FlyQuest. And then we had Team Liquid Challenger versus Golden Guardians Challenger. And now we have our final best of two of the day. Joshi, I gotta say, I guess Rafa too, because both of you were casting last year for Academy for these triple best of 2 day blocks. Casting is much different than hosting. Energy levels way harder to keep up. So I'm chugging my coffee, man.
I don't know if it's because it's early in the season or we built up some stamina so we can last more than 2 seconds, but it is something where it's honestly felt so much easier this spring coming off of it, because I'm still ready to go. That series was so much fun, and this one I think is going to be a blast as well.
It's the LA diff, Josh. You're here.
True.
You feel the energy radiating from all the teams here.
Yeah, see if you can get some of Magical's blood and just inject it. That's definitely going to be all the caffeine that you need for a week.
Oh, I would die. I would legitimately die. So before that happens, let's talk about the teams coming up. FlyQuest Challengers with their roster on our screens right now, along with their coach, of course. Now, this is an interesting match because we have not seen either of these teams play yet, which, of course, means that at first look, we don't necessarily know accurate expectations coming into the year. But, Rafa, I want to hear your thoughts on FlyQuest Challengers.
For me, the biggest story is Spyrex, UG, and Philip. This is a trio that we had a lot of conversations with during last year, and then even with Soul Strikes, their coach, talking about these three wanted to remain as a trio no matter where they went for the year 2023. And the fact that they remain together means that there's a lot of responsibility being put on them to now be the leaders for the newer players coming in Masu. And normally it would be Winsome, but, you know, Keetong will be subbing in as Winsome is going to be stepping in for Ayla on the LCS side of things.
Yeah. That's a huge difference, right? We now have a roster of almost entirely rookies, a couple of sophomores coming in, right? Philip, UG, Spyrex have been around the block for a little bit longer, and Philip has had an opportunity to play a little bit on the LCS stage as well, and is one of my personal favorite players on the board. But all of these guys are a lot of young talent coming through, and this is honestly kind of what I like from the FlyQuest Challengers roster, is they are just getting a bunch of people they think might have an opportunity to have a big year, potentially go up to LCS if they can really showcase that they have what it takes.
And we can take a look at some of the tape from last year. Of course, we haven't seen them yet this year, but the three returning members that chose to play together have a lot of synergy built up. Kind of like CLG Challengers in a way, where they came in, we were expecting them to be hot. This FlyQuest roster should, the top half of the map at least, have a lot of synergy and a lot of, innate ability to work together. Pick up some early wins here. Maybe raising the pressure, raising the expectation of them as a team, as a roster going forward. But they're up against pretty stiff competition as we bring the conversation to that other team. AOE, Area of Effect.
Uwo and friends.
And friends. Joshi, when we talked about this roster, I know I was talking with Cubby about this a little bit ago, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, because he said that this is a roster that to him is like, this was built to not get relegated, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure, right? You have Winnie, formerly Winston, coming through in the jungle. Lynx and Skytech, these guys have been playing at the University of Western Ontario together for a long time. They had a fantastic run during the last CELO where they made top 8 there as well before getting knocked out by the eventual champions. Then you have Gamsu, who every roster he joins seems to just go way deeper than it would otherwise normally have. And Darkwings was one of the players that we were looking at last year as having such a great growth in spring, played for 100 Thieves next and is now coming back on AOE Gold. This was a player that if they weren't replaced by Insanity, who was coming off and had some of the best performances in the mid lane in summer, I would have said this was robbed. This guy was doing so much better. Now their only question is, how are they going to integrate into the core of the University of Western Ontario players?
I want to clarify something. When Joshi says Gamsu gets teams to go further than expected, that this man has been in 3 Proving Grounds finals in a row.
Yeah, sometimes as twice as a sub, right?
Once as a sub, and then on 2 different rosters.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was kind of like a last minute
orgs.
Replacement. Yeah. So there's lots of great things, and it's interesting talking to other people around him, but we'll talk about that in a sec, because like Darkwings was one of these players that had so much growth, and I see Mark wants to talk about it.
Yeah, like Darkwings, when we talk about how we feel Darkwings' former academy, now we're talking about the Challenger role was robbed. You look at this base defense, the 1v4 Cassiopeia, this is the peak of where you can expect Isaac Chow to really soar above and just nail competition in the bud, right? You look at Darkwings' growth as a player. This guy won a Red Bull 1v1 solo tournament as well. So this guy has insane mechanics, and there's a lot of growth that can be expected out of this player who's only had such a short stint in the challenger scene, and he's looking to prove why he deserves to still remain in the conversation in the semi-pro.
Speaking of, we need more 1v1 player content. We got to get those coming back this year, because I think if we could get like Darkwings, Bradley, Faisal, like all these just sniper, these crazy laters to go in a tournament against each other, that would be insane. But Gamsu as well, Joshi, you were hyping him up.
Yeah.
You know, this guy has just had consistent performances at this level.
The tagline is submissive and diveable, right? Every single time you see people trying to dive him over and over, and he turns so many of them around. He's not the strongest laner in the world, but his team fight positioning more than makes up for it. This guy is so good. He is honestly the best weak side top laner that we have in the Academy ecosystem, the Challenger ecosystem.
I feel like maybe a little bit of projection coming from Joshi with that title. But Regardless, that is the matchup that we have ahead of us here. Rafa, thank you again for joining us. I'm hearing that players are getting ready for pick and ban, so we will be saying adieu to Rafa again.
Adieu.
Thank you.
Adieu.
You have a French roommate.
Adieu. There we go. Sorry, Lennon, a.k.a. Mazel. I probably just offended him and all French folks watching. I don't know if any of the LEC people are still watching.
There's probably some
raid that we got.
people.
There's a few. Yeah, it's okay. You can flame me on Twitter. We're in for Rafa saying the French Canadians. I don't know if Stream caught that, but he's in our ears. The French Canadians can be offended too. We're in the pick and ban though, Joshi, for the final series of the day. So I gotta ask, what have we been learning so far? This very exciting fresh meta with crazy different picks, right? No staleness.
All kinds of different things.
Yeah.
It's definitely not just Jenkins playing the Kled and the Warwick to kind of spice things up, Moose Hitters and the Garen. This I'm expecting to be a little bit more, of your stock standard. And honestly, this is going to be, as you were calling out, AOE is built not to be relegated, to continue playing year and split over split. And I think that they have a real chance here against the FLY Challengers.
I would even argue, and this is my hot take. We didn't do any content around this, so maybe I should save this, but this will be a little teaser in case we do something with this. My early split hot take is that AOE is pushing for championship titles. This is a roster that at their peak, if they play to their potential, I could see them winning.
All right, I will say that is a base take because it's definitely you saying I don't care what any of y'all think. This is a team that I'm expecting will probably be number 1 and or 2 for the provisional teams and not have to play for relegation. But playing for the top of the table, I'm not convinced just quite yet. I think
would you believe top 4? If I said top 4
of the entire table,
the entire table, I would put Cloud9.
I'd believe top 6
ahead of them as early front runners.
I would believe top 6.
Top 6
for sure. Yeah.
Hey, still impressive for a provisional team.
Still pretty good for a provisional roster, but again, very standard stuff coming through. The Yuumi, the Lulu, and such wanted. Do you have something more interesting to talk about?
I was just gonna say, let's see how they do it. If they want to try and make that argument, it's gonna be Yuumi and Zeri. All right, we're back to it. So such a fun, fresh meta.
Wow, I can't
all
believe.
These crazy,
just be grateful that
picks.
Sivir is not also meta. But one of the things, I know that I have been somebody who looks at Spyrex and hasn't been quite as excited about this player, but Mark just talked about how good Jalal Spyrex has really been, and one of the things that we oftentimes look at this guy is he has some games where it doesn't feel like he's done anything. He's completely invisible, but at the same time, the height on this guy, the number of times where they are just popping off in games, also totally exists. And whenever we see that version of Spyrex, it's exciting, and I can't believe I willed Sivir into existence.
Joshi. We got that on tape, right? We can go back and somebody edit. Dasarex, I think he's casting the other stream. Later, we'll get him to do one of those Garen videos, but for Sivir now. What does Sivir? I don't even know a Sivir voice line, honestly. That might be too boring.
It's all about gold, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's
pretty
quiet. A looter, right? In her lore, she's
like a mercenary. I think both she and Samira are like mercenaries or something like that.
She's some descendant of
Azir.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't remember if it was directly from Azir, but one of the
anyway,
royal line.
We'll get back into it. We have 2 compositions that are basically identical. You have 2 Radiant Virtue junglers and 2 AD carries who are going to be playing for later in the game. They're going to be auto-attacking each other. And because these cores are just so solid, we're not going to learn a whole lot about the differences between their compositions until we see the different styles of solo lane. And one of the things that I think can be this big change is the fact that Gamsu is a tank player and Philip is much more oriented towards these carries.
That could be a big differentiator, and it could be a blind pick carry for Philip as well. They're hovering the Camille right now, would provide more lockdown, and also a very scary champion for Sivir to give a speed boost too, because she can more easily access the backline, and it's locked in. So Philip piloting the Camille.
If I remember correctly, I think this is the character that Philip played for the first time on the LCS stage going into Licorice. And while he didn't have a huge impact on that game, he was a player that fought Licorice, a player who has in the past been one of the best North American top laners to a standstill, and that's something that has to be prided on for every rookie player. But the Sylas coming back for Darkwings, and there are plenty of options for Spyrex to try and counterpick here, but so far, 2 carries picked up. The question is, what tank is Gamsu actually going to be playing here?
Would most likely be a tank. I mean, I'm trying to think of the options that are available right now. Okay, or it could be something completely out of left field.
We gotta wait for it to get locked in. I made the mistake, and it is going to be the Mordekaiser. Okay, very interesting. So I actually like this a lot, but not necessarily because it's super good in the lane. The lane is totally fine, but you remove the front line from the other team. You're not going to be using this on people like the Sivir or the Lulu quite as often. You're going to be using it on the Sejuani. You're going to get Yuji out of the fight, and from that position, now your Vi, your Sylas are unlocked. They have nobody between them and the soft, squishy Sivir for them to actually dive. So this is something that we haven't seen from Gamsu in the past, but is a really cool adaptation to the rest of the draft.
And with the Azir locked in now for FlyQuest Challengers, they have 2 of the best wave clearing champions in the entire game, especially once they get a couple items under their belt. It is going to be very hard for AOE to actually get onto these turrets and do some damage, so it could really come down to the team fights trying to wipe off these, lane or the wave clearing champions before AOE are able to do much anyway.
Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure onto Darkwings and Winnie to actually get some of these fights started, because we saw this combination being so good at stalling out games where you weren't already ahead, and then allowing the Sivir and Azir to dominate the later stages of the game where they had that range advantage. So Darkwings will need to be stealing the Sejuani ultimate, and Winnie just needs to pick the right targets, and it's really hard to pick Sivir because of the spell shield. As we load onto the Rift, going to be moving out. Just a pretty simple fan coming through from both sides, and AOE, I think, is definitely... Whoa! Alright, now let's get a couple more votes. There's no way that nobody thinks that the FlyQuest Challengers are going to win this game, right? They are still going to be the Challengers team coming through, but AOE, like we were saying, I mean, you said top 4, I think top 6 is a bit more realistic for this squad, but they still have to prove that they deserve to hang with all of these guys. Oh, and we have completely lost that play-by-play, so it is going to be all me for a little bit. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We do still have AOE Gold coming out on the blue side going up against FlyQuest Challengers. And one of the things that I'll be looking at really heavily is how Spyrax will actually go through this game, just because he has a lot of range to play with. He can push around Darkwings, but when Darkwings starts getting that level 3 in particular, he can put a lot of pressure onto Spyrax. And these players were both playing at pretty much the same time in terms of how they were actually playing in the academy, in the semi-pro system before, and they were kind of vying for similar spots. But Darkwings was always a player that was a little bit less refined, hadn't had as much team experience right off the bat, but had so much growth in terms of their confidence and their ability to carry later on in the spring split. And it's one of the big reasons why we were a little bit disappointed when they didn't have an opportunity to continue playing with Dignitas, instead of moving over to 100 Thieves Next, where they were one of the better players in Amateur. But looking at this, it is going to be very tough for either side in the bottom lane to do much in order to build an advantage, right? This is something that we saw a ton of leading up to Worlds for the summer 2022, because both of these AD carries were so strong. He had so many opportunities to just continue playing over and over again. But it sounds like I have an opportunity to bring in a substitute real quick, but we're going to wait on production to see how that actually goes. And again, it is one of these teams where, looking at AOE, Winnie is now moving down towards the bottom side of the map and going to be going a little bit faster than the way that Yuji has gone. For Yuji as well, Yuji was another player that we were kind of looking at that kind of had an arc similar to the way that Darkwings was actually playing during the early split, right? Yuji, one of the only players, in fact the only one that I know of, to come from Mongolia and play at a professional level, or at least a semi-pro. Now going for the invade onto Winnie, gets the first knockoff. Winnie has no Q. Winnie forced a flash, counter flash coming through. Is the shield going to be enough? It is. Yuji backs away. The turret shot actually is going to be dissuading him, but that means that this Vi not going to be able to move towards the bottom side of the map and help the bot lane whatsoever. But this is some of the confidence we were seeing coming out from Yuji last year. Yuji was a player that absolutely was able to build up once they started playing a couple more of these assassins.
before I continue on your point, nice little play-by-play there, Joshi. For those that don't know, Joshi used to cast for Team Liquid back when it was all the Academy streams, and a lot of the times he was the only caster there. So Joshi would both do color and play-by-play. So I
had a lot of
wanted
guests,
to,
which
yeah, a lot of guests, a lot of peanut gallery, you know, in the in the background. But
it was always fun, like playing with, you know, working with people who hadn't really done casting before, and so, you know, it was fun having people like Damien, who now works for 100 Thieves, or FAFC, you know, who was a streamer for Team Liquid at the time. But as we go through this, Rob, it's good to have you back. Is this the first time that you've casted in 2023?
Officially, yeah. I've had a few practice casts on the side, but, you know, this is how we're making the debut. Yeah. Oh. Hey, man.
On the side? Come on, I'm not just your side chick here. All right, there we go. We got right off the bat. We already got him to break. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen.
Man.
Let's give some props over to Masu and Ketong, though, right? They get this wave in, and they're actually going to be denying a fair amount of experience for Lynx and Skytech.
The other thing I want to talk about for Masu is just kind of where this guy came from, because he is one of the newer faces. I think if we already mentioned, he was playing for, if I'm not mistaken, University St. Thomas at some point during summer, or TBA, Team TBA, which was a roster that had members of University St. Thomas, but then they had Masu, and was always a bot laner that seemed like had potential and seemed like a great marksman, but I want to see how that comes to fruition with this late game scaling pick in this server.
Yeah, I mean, Masu was definitely part of that crop of 80 carriers like Scary Jerry and Shogo coming to mind as players that were looking to compete for the upcoming spot, and Masu is definitely one of them that had a little, you know, didn't have a ton of prior experience before they joined this FlyQuest roster.
Taking attention towards the top side of the map. Almost seemed like there was going to be some action here, but just a little bit of keep away from Philip.
Yeah.
I don't think this will result in any much. Just a little bit of trading back and forth.
No, it shouldn't be much of anything, but I kind of want to explore the differences that we have in the characters and the actual playstyles between Gamsu and Philip, right? Gamsu, we already said, other players, I think to quote Surdy in particular, he really, really highly valued watching their individual play in the laning phase. And Gamsu, he was not particularly impressed with. But when we were talking to him when he guested on the Proving Grounds finals, he said, you know, I was giving Gamsu a bad rap. Yes, his laning isn't the most impressive thing in the world, but that is not the only thing. Gamsu's positioning in these team fights later on is really what has kind of separated him as when he runs into Yuji.
Yuji's going to find him riding on the boar. Winnie, unfortunately, while being Vi, can always tangle with some of the beefier opponents. Not going to be the case if they're getting the jump on you, so that forcing Vi out. It's a little bit of a reward for Yuji as he's going to steal away some chicken nuggets. I wonder if there could be an angle making his way towards the bottom side of the map, because Winnie is still around, but is a little bit low on health.
Yuji doesn't seem like the kind of player who would really do that, right? We were talking about the growth that he had in terms of like his confidence, and a big part of that was his willingness to be a bit more patient and look for his angles instead of just kind of taking what felt like odd risks at times before. And it really did come around with, what was it, the Kiana that he started playing in spring, where he really started popping off. Now Yuji's still a player who's been rather quiet in terms of like his actual personality, but his gameplay, when he pops off hard.
And Yuji is put in a lot of work, especially when Diamond was still on the roster, to be more vocal, right? Take up that leadership mantle. Now between him and Spyrex, these are the two that really have to step up in terms of communication for the squad, as we were talking about it. A relatively young one. Speaking of which.
Yeah, comes Winnie.
Okay. Double Emperor's Divide comes out. Winnie is not able to get enough damage. Spyrex makes his escape, burns the flash, but he's out A-okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big benefits from Yuji, right? Taking away a couple of those Raptor camps was probably the difference between Winnie getting level 6 and finding that kill and not. So Yuji finding some big opportunities for the rest of his team. But this bottom lane, we've been seeing that Masu and Ketong have been doing quite well together. And we should know that Lynx and Skytech, they have had more time playing together at the collegiate level than almost any other set of players coming in to this year of Challengers.
FlyQuest have stated in the past how much of an investment they wanted to put specifically on collegiate as well. there's some teams during 2022 that they were kind of looking all over the semi-pro scene. FlyQuest being specifically, no, we want to prove that there is good talent that can be nurtured and can be cultivated from the collegiate scene. I know Soul Strikes was a big fan of that as well. And I'm getting in my ear that our real play-by-play, our one that we wanted to have on, is back. Kangas, are you here, my friend?
I am here. Hello,
Let's
can you
go.
hear me? Oh, thank goodness. Sorry about that, everyone. Some technical difficulties for the start of the split, but happy that Rafa was on to take my spot. Joshi, what did I miss?
I mean, it's still 0-0, so we've been talking about the players mostly. Spyrax has been doing a good job pushing around Dark Wings, but that's kind of it. We saw a gank in the mid lane, and it's mostly just been farming across the board, which, to their credit, the Challengers team is doing a slightly better job, and it's why we see about a kill's worth of gold difference between the two teams.
Yeah, I'm looking right now, 20 CS up for Spyrax, even in the top lane, but about 13 for Masu in the bot lane.
Yeah.
Also a dragon picked up now, too. So, yeah, FlyQuest in a little bit of an early lead.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is going to be a big opportunity for AOE to kind of find an advantage is, I think Winnie Winston is one of the best shot callers that we've had at the collegiate level in the past, right? He did an interview during CLOL where he was talking about how important it was to him to have, been on stages like this in the past and to allow some of the younger players to kind of catch up with him in that way. And that just kind of speaks to one of the things that, a good leader does. They want to share everything that they can with everyone on the team. And so Winnie getting put behind a little bit makes his job that much more difficult because it's so much harder to shot call when you feel weak.
And stepping into a role with a lot of other, what I would imagine strong voices, or rather experienced voices, and Gamsu, Darkwing, Skytech, they've played at the academy level before, but Spyrax in the mid lane now against Darkwings, steals the Arctic Prison.
Here we go.
Prison, rather. Now they're on to Spyrax. No flash available for the Azir, and he's down. First blood to Winnie.
Oh, they're still going. Okay.
UG should be out. Yeah, they'll pull back, but still. Finally, some action happening.
And there we go. I mean, that's what we needed. I guess Rafa just meant that we weren't going to get a single kill, but Kangas comes back, and already we're getting bloodshed. Big thing there. There you go. We appreciate your sacrifice. But watch what happens in this crazy melee, right? By pushing Darkwings away, Yuji isn't actually able to hit throughout most of this, and the stun that comes through locks them down, but the one that Yuji throws out in just a sec goes completely wide.
And then it's just a matter of getting the damage on the Spyrax, who I assume had missed the flash earlier. You mentioned a previous gank in the mid lane. Wow. What a dramatic way to go.
Yeah, I'll be real. I had never seen that death animation that close before, but it is the big thing now is it puts the shot caller of Winnie back in a position of power, and that'll allow them to feel so much better about all these upcoming fights. But at the same time, something we haven't really talked about, we talked about the difference in players between Gamsu and Philip. This duel is not going to be very good for Mordekaiser later as the game goes on. You really will not be able to ult him, or you will just get true damage down.
And even right now, kind of struggling a little bit. As Gamsu does get a good pull back there. They're in the Death Realm now, so Gamsu looking for it. Nicely done from Philip. Dodging out on the Q damage with the Hextech ultimatum. Has his turret to keep him safe, so a trade of ult for ult.
It's still going to be good right now, but here's Yuji trying to find him, and Gamsu already flashes.
I like that from Philip, following up the flash in the Q animation, and that is a kill to Yuji.
Good stuff coming through. Both junglers finding kills in different places. Winning the mid lane, Yuji respawns up in the top side of the map, and giving that little bit extra gold over to Philip will really accelerate this duel. Whoa!
Spyrax punishing Darkwings for the aggressive trade right there, but actually might be getting punished himself now. Lynx joins in on the fight and takes out Spyrax. It's traded right on back as Winnie will go down too. Well, interesting series of events there.
Winnie was so close to living that as well, man. I love the awareness. Uh-oh, my mid laner's in trouble. Instantly coming around for the dive and recognizing that he needs to start tanking the turret immediately. That's a second kill that they've gotten here onto Spyrax, really limiting some of the advantages he had built up for himself.
Now, yeah, I mean, like 13 CS up feels all right, but you look at the itemization currently, Darkwing's definitely feeling better.
Yeah, this is
not like the other, you know?
Yeah, one of these characters is going to be scaling basically ad infinitum, and the other one is Gamsu. So it's going to be a very tough position for Gamsu to kind of recover off of that one kill, and it is mostly going to become an ult bot later in the fight. And there's still opportunities for AOE. They still have access to the backline using Gamsu's ult to get rid of Yuji, but you know, if they are not strong enough to actually make any of these plays happen, and Masu and Keaton have enough movement speed to keep away, that's where the real play for a lot of this game is going to come in.
Now, I love the analysis and the breakdown you just gave, Joshi, but I do want to give my 2 cents on the situation. No. In my experience, Mordekaiser is at a level of BS right now where it doesn't really matter how far behind he is. Because if he gets towards that 1-2 item, he can still just kill anybody. Maybe not Philip. Anybody else, I think he's going to be doing just fine.
Sure.
Am I off the mark? How far off am I here?
I mean, he's definitely going to be able to beat up Lulu, but I think he's going to have a lot of trouble, like, actually sticking to the other characters, you know?
This sounds like a skill issue on my end, not necessarily a champion issue. Is that what you're telling me?
A little bit. I mean, honestly, kind of, right? Because you have the Spyrax coming through. He's just going to throw down the wall. How does Gamsu deal with that? How does he deal with the polymorph? How is he going to be able to lock down Philip unless he gets Philip in a spot where there are no walls, right? It's really tough for Mordekaiser lumbering around to actually catch up to a lot of these people, and that's why I've been so focused on the Gamsu-Yuji interaction, so that he can allow Vi and Silas to be the real carries of the fight.
He's winning this trade, kind of. Maybe not fully, but
of.
a little bit, you know. Doing his best. Dragon's up. Winnie has the pocket Yumi. Skytech on the jungler right now, and ultimates are available. So I'm watching the carry, watching Masu. You have one spell shield. You got a Lulu next to you. That is very hard for the enemy to get on top, but not impossible, as they're now on to the dragon. Yuji's got to go forward. Can he get the steal? It is secured by Winnie. Now Link's doing a lot of damage. Masu is not protected and does go down, but the only one to go down, as the rest of FlyQuest are just fine. They don't get the dragon, but they will win the fight.
I love the way that Lynx was actually moving around the side of that fight, right? Making sure that they weren't in a position where they were ever under threat. And when AD carry gets to free fire on other AD carry, that AD carry is going to be the one that's winning that. So Lynx and Skytech really liked what they were doing, but it was a little chaotic, right? In the way that the entire fight breaks down. And I think that's going to be in favor of FlyQuest when all is said and done.
They're definitely walking away feeling all right about that. Like I said, you know, you're not getting the objective, but they have much more gold to work with on their, at least 80 carry and Sivir.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not even that much more. Let's take a look at it. Nope, never mind. No more gold.
No more
80 carry.
But
it's really just Philip right now.
Yeah, Philip has got a really big lead, and it's interesting that Yuji, with the fact that they are 2-0-2, don't actually have a gold lead going up against Winnie, partly because Winnie got that influx of gold from dropping the Rift Out in the mid lane earlier, but Yuji getting all this extra gold on his team normally would allow them to have a strong front line, and the Azir and Sivir could play around it, and again, that's where the Mordekaiser comes in. You just get rid of that, and yeah, Mordekaiser is not going to kill the Sejuani because they're too tanky, but you just get rid of the tank, so you take a 4v4 and you have all the tools to actually get the fight started.
Well, what can Yuji do with this Herald? Because if he just gets... I mean, I wonder if it's even worth it to go for something like a QSS at that point. If you can just get out of it, you're still feeling all right with a little bit of magic resist that you get.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, is because the other thing you have to remember is it also works on Winnie's ultimate, right? Because Winnie's ultimate has a small suppression towards the end of it. So you have multiple real uses for it, and just making sure that your team has that front line would be a real value for the rest of the team. But this game still hangs in the balance here, Steve, and Gamsu, I mean, he's going to take a 1v1 here.
Yeah, Yuji goes in, gets the lockdown. He's in the Death Realm right now with Yuji. Like you were saying, pulls in the tank, the front line, gets back to his turret, and he survives the gank.
It's a neat idea, though, right? Forcing Gamsu to use the ultimate means that they cannot prevent the crash, so they do get a lot of damage on this turret, which means that probably Philip can come over and collect 2 kills basically whenever they feel like it.
Good point. Hadn't thought about that necessarily. And also, Gamsu's ultimate cooldown a little bit longer than Yuji's too, and that's what they traded for it, so Yuji will have it up for a potential another play. I mean, there's really not much to fight for. Dragon's not up for another 2 minutes, 15 seconds, but... yeah, as we've been saying a couple times, a kill's a kill. You know, sometimes you just fight because it's fun.
it's fun. I mean, that's what we're all here for League of Legends. But at the same time, I'm kind of thinking about some of the other comparisons in this, right? We have Keaton coming in for Winsome, which is an interesting player to kind of bring in because Keaton is a player that has also been around the semi-pro scene for quite a while, but hasn't necessarily jumped out as somebody that is always going to be this very strong player. They played for Cloud9 Academy for, a couple of weeks. They played for Radiance for about a year ago, and as Spyrex fights Darkwings, they're going under the turret.
And Darkwings has the Emperor's Divide himself, though. Yuji will be approaching, and Darkwings says, all right, you are out of there. Get away from me. I do not like this.
All right, next. Okay, Philip walking in. But yeah, going back with Keaton, like a player that we've consistently seen kind of hopping around from team to team. As in the past, 2 years, played for FlyQuest, Cloud9, Radiance, Stony Brook. Different variations of Gerb Nation, both under the XT brand and under the LB version of the team. And I'm curious where Keaton is kind of trying to go next, right? Because it's one of those things where, because they are not playing with any consistent team, it's been kind of hard to get a read on them.
I'd have to agree. It's one of those situations where I'd love to talk with the player about it as well. Hey, if they win, maybe we can. Now Gamsu in a 1v1 against Philip. In the Death Realm again. Teleport from Darkwings. They are committing everything onto Philip, and as soon as he is out, he's getting locked down. That's a shutdown for Darkwings.
Great patience coming through from Darkwings and Winnie to try and pick up Philip, make sure that there's nowhere that they can go, and that gives them a lot of freedom on the top side of the map so they can at least trade, and they are hitting the Baron before the dragon spawns.
Whoa! Yuji sniffs it out, drops down a control ward, but look at Keaton and Spyrex. They're all the way on the bottom river. So Yuji might have to go for a steal here. They could look for a potential fight afterwards. Philip has teleport in 10 seconds. If FlyQuest can buy time, they can go for the fight afterwards. They just go right on the Gamsu. FlyQuest just say, we take the fight now! It is secured. Baron to Winnie and AOE, but can they survive? When he's out, he's going for the back. Spyrex stops it, claims the kill, but he cannot stop Darkwings. Baron-empowered recall gets him back, and AOE get away with the Baron.
That's a crazy play coming through, right? Winnie calling for the Baron, just saying, hey, hit this, we are committing to it. Gamsu, just go die so they have enough time to actually DPS this down. I don't know if it's worth it though, right? You trade 2 kills, so you're technically plus 3 kills in gold, but you're also giving up the dragon and a ton of tempo on the map, right? There's more minions crashing towards the top side. Philip is now coming out of the bottom side, but this is the kind of thing that AOE are going to do to teams. They will ask, hey, are you going to be responding to us on the Baron? This is a classic Winnie kind of move, and yeah, the fight didn't go quite well, but watch how they immediately split up as soon as they have an opportunity to. They know there's no fight, they just know they gotta get their prize and get out of dodge.
And Yuji wasn't even stunned, just didn't get the smite down, outsmote by Winnie. Nicely done. Darkwings was trying to lock down Yuji and prevent the opportunity for a steal, but end of the day, it was just a 50-50. Bold call from AOE. But you're right, they gotta look to get a lot with this, because gold is still even. They gave up the dragon, and it looks like after the replay, all they got from it so far is a pushed top lane. They'd like to crack at least a turret.
Yeah, I mean, it's 5 kills worth of gold, but giving over the dragon, I think, is the more important objective at this point in the game, right? It's really, even if you get these outer turrets, it opens up the map a little bit, but you're going up against a Sivir and Azir. They're going to wave clear you to hell and back, and it's on you guys to not get outscaled, because while the 2 team fights are just going to kind of crash into each other with both AD carries doing massive damage, the side lane is going to be a ton of pressure for Philip later.
We have them grouped to mid right now. AOE maybe sieging. No, they walk away from the cannon, so they're not even committing to a siege. I just don't see them getting much done with this Baron so far.
Not yet. We'll see what they can actually do. I'd love to see Philip go towards the top lane and actually pick up that really low top lane turret, but Gamsu doesn't have the Baron. They're the ones splitting in the bottom lane. Lynx and Winnie are hanging out, and they might be able to get this, but look at the wave clear that's coming out from Monster. They're not even getting minions to impact the turret.
They get Baron, and they lose the turret. AOE actually get outshoved by FlyQuest, who had that turret low from the earlier Rift Herald play. And just like you said, Joshi, I think Philip's on comms with you. Is he listening? Can we confirm that Joshi isn't feeding strats?
He was one of my favorite players for a long time, so I cannot confirm nor can I deny any of these allegations. But I want to go back to the fact that I like the fact that AOE is trying to do things, right? We were saying that they're the team built to not get relegated. Their goal should be trying to beat a lot of these teams, and that means that they need to have the onus of execution on them. If you're trying to win, you generally need to be the one that is going to try and make things happen. Not only is it good for learning and getting better at the game, it's also a little bit more impressive to scouts because you have to learn more about the game.
Ooh, I like this from Gamsu, pulling Spyrax into the Death Realm. As Spyrax has to use the Emperor's Divide, and now Winnie can lock him down, give the shutdown to Gamsu. Can't believe that was actually a shutdown worth of gold right there. Gamsu's right back in this game.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's one of the classic things that you can also do with Mordekaiser, right? We saw it happen to Philip on the top side, now we saw it happen to Spyrax on the bottom side. You use the ult to keep them around so that they cannot see where all the ganks are coming from, and you actually bring the gank through. But still, we go back, the Baron is gone, they got 0 structures with it, and FlyQuest is going to be a team that is so difficult to play against later on with their range.
One of those situations where it is a developmental league, right? This is semi-pro, it's an opportunity for players to try things out, experiment, see what works, and those are one of those moments where, yeah, obviously if this was a giant playoffs game, you'd be like, it probably wasn't worth it to go for that 50-50 for that kind of play. You know, for both of the teams' first game of the season, I think that they're still doing a pretty good job of showing off what they got. Got a long split ahead of us yet.
Yeah, remember, this is only the first time that these teams have been on stage. It's also the only time that they will play against each other unless they play against each other in playoffs. So, you gotta try and find every win you can. And you know, again, we've kind of talked about like the developmental pieces that we have on AOE, right? You have Winnie, who has been in the semi-pro ecosystem for quite a long time, and the collegiate system is one of the best junglers that we've seen in collegiate for a long time. But who on FlyQuest are you really looking at to potentially break into the LCS at the end of the year?
I mean, Yuji is the first name that comes to mind. I think that's the obvious one, right? Yuji was on many of our lists for most valuable prospect. We always named one.
Was he the only one that was 2 splits in a row as an honorable mention?
I think so, yeah. We would do a top 5 list, and then we would at least like give shout-outs to the others on that list, as FlyQuest are actually taking this mid-tier 2 turret. Fight's breaking out, teleport coming in, but they are on to Lynx, pulled right back in with the Hextech Ultimatum, and no safe place to hide. FlyQuest say the only way out is in. We don't care about your teleports on our flanks, because we just took down 3 of your members and are going for an inhibitor.
Going for the inhibitor, and only way out's in a body bag. They find this, they can go right on back to the dragon as well. Darkwing can cut the wave, but with members still dead, Lynx and Skytech will not be able to do anything. Winnie's not there, and they say, screw the dragon, we're going for Baron.
Yeah, they got all 5 members still up. Not a bad plan. Can Darkwings get the dragon? Is going to be a big deciding factor in, like, are AOE just out of this game at this point? Because if they stop the soul take from FlyQuest, that feels good. The FlyQuest are, with this play, like, this is such a swing. They're at a point where they could maybe just end the game off of one more fight.
Oh, for sure. It's not a situation where you're out, but you're very close to drawing dead. You got like 1 or 2 outs, and it's got to be Lynx and Skytech having a monster fight. And we can't have situations like this where FlyQuest get to dictate when the fights happen, because your Mordekaiser can't do the things that I've been asking them to do the entire game. They're not there, and FlyQuest just walk up. Yuji just gets the Q onto Lynx because he's too close.
I can't believe Lynx got pulled back over the entire wall. It looked like there was a little corner there in the Raptor Pit that he should have been good.
He flashed into it.
Yeah, the slingshot just pulls you back a little too far. Darkwings now in a 1v1 against Philip.
That was
the Hextech Ultimatum. I've never known. What happens if you Hextech Ultimatum in a Hextech Ultimatum?
Well, neither of you can leave.
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, Phillips would keep Darkwings in, and then Darkwings would keep Philip in, and it's like, well, I guess we are now fighting for the next 4 seconds.
What if you're in the Hextech Ultimatum and you're trying to Hextech Ultimatum somebody outside of the Hextech Ultimatum?
Oh, you can't do it. There's nothing that can get you out of a Hextech Ultimatum, except for, I think, Tom Kensholt is the only thing that can, because it literally takes you off of the map. And even then, if he switched you up beforehand...
Mordekaiser, too.
That's actually a good question. Yeah, I guess it probably would fall off. Yeah, it probably would fall off.
Yeah. It's all the crazy interactions, and we have all of them in one game together.
Yeah.
What a wild ride here. Hextech Ultimatum is used by Darkwings, pushed back by Spyrax. Great positioning for the Azir. Front line's where it needs to be. Damage is where it needs to be. And despite Lynx outputting as much as he possibly can, they are just too far behind right now. Gamsu will fall. Lynx has no one to stand in front of him anymore, but no health bars on FlyQuest means that they probably can't end the game here. This is cracking more of the base, though.
Yeah, Darkwing could potentially find a big play here.
Oh, he takes a Wild Growth. Goes in, Wild Growth in himself to knock up Philip, who's exhausted. Still alive, though. Polymorph a little late onto Lynx, but it doesn't matter. They still get the kill. Skytech gets onto Darkwings and gets out of there. Barely survives. The Ignite was not enough to kill the cat. And that means the FlyQuest are backing off. They don't have the game end yet.
But that's another inhibitor that's going down, and while there's nothing to fight for in the rest of the map, it makes their game plan very easy, Steve. They're going to go top lane, they're going to siege, and we'll see what they can do, because Lynx does not have the same kind of wave clear as a Sivir does. We'll take another look at this. Masu, you know, gets a little bit caught with the long-range stun with the Hextech Ultimatum, but with the tools coming out, there's a lot that they can do to prevent people from getting on top of them. And even though you get one of the carries, Spyrax is free-hitting this entire time, completely unimpeded, rips apart Gamsu, rips apart Winnie, and is enough to get them the inhibitor.
The problem with a comp like this is that you got to get both of the carries if you're going to go for a fight like that. Only one is not enough, and I would even argue that the Azir is able to do a little bit more damage in those, although it's, probably about the same between the two. These are disgusting carries in a team fight. But yeah, still, one is not enough for AOE, and it is a very hard task to take down both.
So we'll see if they can do what they need to. They need to get into the back line. Fighting the wave made it a lot harder, particularly for Darkwings, right? You saw that the stun actually went down to a minion instead of onto Masu, which, you know, probably wasn't the difference, but would have definitely helped them maybe get a second kill or a third kill in that last fight. But here we go. The very simple game plan. You send everybody towards the top lane, Philip off in a side, and no way.
Glacial Prison onto Lynx. No follow-up, though, as Philip does not commit all the way in. Darkwings now takes the Sejuani ult. This could be the final fight for AOE. They're posturing for it. Philip posturing for the flank, and Gamsu is not with the team right now, so we have a 5v4 in favor of FlyQuest, and they pull the trigger. When he tried to frontline, he's still alive. Gamsu's in there as well. Has not used the ultimate yet. Now in the death realm with UG pulling away that frontline. Darkwings almost gets the giant shuffle, but still looking for more. He got on the Spyrax. Darkwings can do this. Lynx with the damage and the shutdown. FlyQuest, what happened? They have such a strong team fighting composition, and yet AOE hold the line. Lynx jumping all the way in. Wants even more here. Has Yumi for the speed ups. Chasing down Philip and Keaton. The slows will prevent the follow-up. But AOE have done what they needed to do. The line has been held, and they won a crucial team fight.
And they did it exactly the same that we needed them to. We saw Gamsu take away the front line. Yuji could not stand in front, and suddenly Masu and Spyrax were left to their own devices. Darkwings able to get onto the back line. Suddenly Lynx is able to hit. Suddenly Darkwings is able to hit because they don't have anybody who can block these shots for them. Masu instantly going down, and even though they try and kite out, Lynx yet again finds the angle into his opposing AD carry.
Incredible play right there from AOE. That was a 4v5 to start. Gamsu had to teleport in just to get there in time. Oh, wow. That's getting my heart racing. I'm sure the players are feeling the exact same way. FlyQuest will get the dragon. That is their third of the game.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're behind by any stretch now, but that is not what they were expecting from that push.
Oh, it's a much needed morale fight too, right? That's the kind of thing that's like, okay, we figured out what we need to do. Now it's about, can we do it? You know that you just need to get them through, and you see that with Yuji, I mean, still deathless in this game as the front lane because people aren't hitting him. They're focusing on everybody else. It means that Gamsu's done a decent job thus far controlling Yuji in these fights, but now we have another Baron on the table, and we have another opportunity for FlyQuest to force a fight, especially if they can force everybody coming in at the same side, and Gamsu has no teleporting down bottom lane.
I'm going to say it. I think that Yuji might die this next fight if things go poorly, because Lynx has the LDR. A lot of damage they can do, and they're just going right in for it. Philip and Gomsu are not in the fight, so it's a 4v4. Spyrax doesn't hit anyone with the Emperor's Divide, which means that Lynx has free reign of this fight. Free reign of the Baron for AOE. A triple kill to Lynx. Philip's going to try his best to take out all these inhibitors. Yuji will have to look for a steal, but he says, no, I'm just going to leave, catch the mid wave, let Philip get the double supers if he can. And now at a 1v1, Gomsu pulls him into the Death Realm. Baron is secured at this point, so it's all about this 1v1 right here. Darkwings joins in, Philip goes down, only got 2 inhibitors, not 3. That is not double super spawning. AOE are making the comeback happen.
And they try and do too much. FlyQuest tries to use Emperor's Divide to create space, but that's not the thing you need to do. You just need to kill the front line. Lynx has been completely uncontested. You have no threat on him. Don't worry about it. You kill everybody else. There's only one left. Now Darkwings walks up into the mid lane, continuing to find ways into these fights. I've been so impressed with the way that Darkwings and Lynx have actually navigated. They're constantly finding their way into the backline, and Lynx, more than anything else, is hitting Masu. It's not often that you watch AD carries auto-attack each other like that, but Lynx is finding the angle.
Well, the Yuumi makes it so much easier. Zeri's already a fast AD carry, but Yuumi speed on top of that means that Masu's positioning is so much harder. It's like, oh, wait a minute. There's this 4-item Zeri just on top of me instantly in these fights. You gotta feel for the guy, especially when all the CC is kind of leaving him in a way. Spyrax is going deep for these Emperor's Divides. Yuji is not always standing in front of Masu. Now, it's hard to say, is this on Masu, is this on the team? You know, obviously it's a team-based game, but clearly the positioning is not working out for them in these fights.
I mean, I think it's actually a credit now to AOE that Yuji hasn't died yet, right? You know, normally this is something we credit to the player who hasn't died, but AOE are doing a good job at hitting the actual important targets. Yuji has never been like a super scary tank player, but it's the kind of thing where AOE are showing that they can go past them and hit everybody else. It's been Masu and Spyrax who have been taking the brunt of the deaths. In fact, they have 9 of their team's 12 deaths because AOE has figured out how to get to them.
AOE are maybe looking for the game end right here. Philip has to back, was going for the split push, completes the back. Now FlyQuest have to hold off these inhibitor turrets. 5 items on Lynx, by the way. This Zeri is fully online and absolutely capable of carrying this game.
Wow, the amount of damage at range that they will be able to do can absolutely shred through all these members, and Zeri is also so good at chasing people down as well. AOE lining up to try and take this turret, and that's the one thing that they are going to have a little bit of trouble with, right? We talked about it earlier. The Sivir Azir give you so much wave clear to play with. Now AOE, they should know that Philip can be in that bush, but Philip doesn't know where they are. Uh-oh.
Okay, he spotted. And when he locks him down, Philip in a lot of trouble. 1v5. There's no shot. Goes down, and the Dragon's coming up relatively soon, but AOE have the much-needed 5v4 to potentially go for a dive. Okay, so it was a 1v4, and to Philip's credit.
Okay, yeah, Darkwings wasn't there.
Yeah, Darkwings was hanging around the bottom river. But you're right, 35 seconds for Dragon. But AOE want to make the most of the Baron, although, nope, it has expired by this point. So maybe just the most of this wave. If they can crack another inhibitor here, or even their first inhibitor, Yuji.
Oh, they're hitting Yuji.
Front line here, still has not died yet.
That's good for FlyQuest.
A lot of damage, AOE from Masu right there. Those ricochets were doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, and you see, right, as soon as they are forced to hit Yuji, it's impossible to actually deal with him. Yuji looking at Lynx.
Yeah, they just had a trap waiting for him. Actually,
they don't get him.
Yuumi on top of him still. Masu and Winnie are there! And again, Masu picked off in the team fight.
Yeah, look at that. They try to fight Yuji. It doesn't work. You start fighting Masu, you start fighting Spyrax. It's working so well. AOE are now poised to actually try and take this game. They figured out how to take these fights. They are finding the different angles. And, of course, fighting the pick onto Philip is a huge boom. But this is now them with 3 Dragons as well. Nearly a 40-minute game at this point as they are continuing to showcase that this raw scaling of the characters doesn't matter as long as you can pilot your composition better.
And now we're getting Zonias, we're getting GAs and everybody. It's a soul point both ways. We are at that late stage of the game where one more fight, if it's done well, can be the decider. FlyQuest are behind now. They're not out yet. They do still have an insane team fight if Masu and Spyrex can get their damage down. But what we've been seeing time and time again is that AOE just aren't letting them. Ever since that fight bot side and when they took that first inhibitor, AOE have been outplaying all of these fights and making sure that the double damage threats just cannot DPS.
Yeah, and again, props to Darkwings, props to Lynx for being able to navigate in these team fights. Lynx has done so well, and he's gotten to the point, right, where you were saying, like, oh, Lynx is dead here, and he's like, yeah, oh, okay. I am just that strong. You cannot do a whole lot to me. I have a Yuumi on my back, who is also a late-game scaling character, and so far, Lynx has only died twice, and that's when, the game was going pretty poorly early on in the game. Lynx has not died in almost 20 minutes.
And there's not 6 items. Sold the boots, got the Runams, and yeah, Lynx is going to be... This is what we call, in the industry,
a problem.
Lynx is a problem right now.
Lynx is a problem.
And I don't know what kind of equations FlyQuest are used to working with, but it seems like they're scratching their heads on how to solve this one.
Yeah. Now, Lynx just poking around. Everybody is here except for Philip and Gamsu and Darkwings. It's the ult.
I like this from Winnie.
Whoa,
They're
going deep.
for it, but they
This
got
is
the
it.
first
They win.
teleport, and they've already taken out Keaton. They got Masu down as well. Spyrex is out. Game over. AOE have cleared out the carries. Masu has nobody standing in front of him. Oh, Gamsu doesn't actually want to spring the trap, but Lynx will catch up regardless. A 3-for-0. AOE. Comeback secured. They're going to get this Baron, and at this point, it's just a walk in the park to close out this game.
Yeah, this has been a huge showcase of why having such a strong shot caller is so good for AoE. Winnie takes it, and you see how far his Assault and Battery took him? He had to follow Spyrex from the mid lane past the Raptor camp to actually lock him down. And you look at the way that FlyQuest have been playing, they are being slow. They are not necessarily going for plays. The whole point of picking Sejuani is because you have this ultimate on like a 40-second cooldown, but we almost only see it being used defensively. FlyQuest had such a strong position earlier, and now they're going to get punished by the fact that Winnie is telling the team, we are fighting now, you just need to follow me.
I gotta point it out, AoE, they didn't lose Azonias, they didn't lose a Guardian Angel. They didn't even lose Yuumi with the extra QSS that he's packing there. Or, not QSS, obviously, but, you get the point.
Yeah.
FlyQuest have nothing to work with now. It's going to be a miracle for them to actually hold the line and mount their own comeback here. They have lost all control of this game, and just props to AoE. The roster that we said, this is one that was built to not get relegated. I would so far as to say this is a roster that is looking to compete with the top of the league. And that was a hot take, let's be honest. But this is a really good showing so far.
Oh yeah, for sure. Taking down a Challengers team in their very first showing will be a big credit to their name, but this is always the problem that we're talking about. How do you deal with the wave player? And look at where Philip is, going for the inhibitor on the far side. They're trying to force a dive, but damn, the damage on the Spyrex. That'll win them this turret.
And they also have all these Baron-empowered minions too. Philip gets one inhibitor, decides to back off. They got Darkwings' back. Darkwings also has teleport, so even if Philip joins in here, he's unspotted. So let's look at the fight that's happening. When he gets locked down, he goes forward. Yuji yet to die. Lynx fully enabled right now with the Yuumi on top of him. Takes down the turret, gets a lot of health chunked by Spyrex there. So it's only one Nexus turret for now.
But they open up the base, and that was the tough part, right? Getting the first inhibitor is always the hardest. Darkwings found Philip for a bit, but they're also setting up for this upcoming Mountain Soul. The shield is nice, but the extra Mountain Drake is even nicer, right? So much extra armor and MR means that Lynx will be unkillable.
Final breath for the game-defining fight. Super's pushing on both sides of the map for each team. Or rather, or top side.
Sure.
Bottom
Yeah.
side for AoE. You got the point.
It
comes down to one fight.
We get what you're cooking.
Yeah, you're smelling what I'm stepping in. Whoever wins this has a lane to end the game through.
Here we
And
go.
I don't even
FlyQuest
think we
coming
get a
through.
fight. Never mind.
It's way
You know,
too
I
late.
built it up to be this thing, and AOE just take the dragon for free.
Yeah. Not even throwing out any abilities either to try and catch them.
Oh, that was
we're gonna wait 3 more minutes.
anticlimactic.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna wait 3 more minutes for the Baron.
All right, everyone strap in. It could be a little bit of more time before this game's over. This has got to be the longest game of the day, on our stream at least. I heard that
Probably the
other
longest game of the
stream had a
season
long
so
one.
far.
Yes,
Right, games are usually ending in like under 30 minutes right now. The fact that we are over 40 is pretty wild.
It's both of these teams' first look reminder, so
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of stage nerves, I'm not sure. But also, it's the fact that AOE just didn't give up. Like, I was already at the point, I believe we had said done and dusted at some point in this game, and it was definitely not. AOE are doing a class act of how to keep spirits up, keep yourself focused on that win, and make sure that you do not give your opponent any quarter. Speaking of, they're not giving Spyrax anywhere to go either. He's spotted, and he should go down. That's even the teleport that they're using from Darkwings. The lockdown from Winnie. Oh, Spyrax pushes them over the wall. Darkwings, actually, his teleport was stopped. They caught him. FlyQuest, wait a minute. Are they going to make it happen? Spyrax will be traded. That's pretty big. They have a little bit of control of the map for right now.
Yeah, they're pushing up the mid lane. They're trying to take an inhibitor. They're seeing if they can find another pick, because that is one of their ways back in, but there's no objectives for them to actually take, and they're not going to be forcing a fight here in the mid lane. I mean, the big thing is they committed so much to actually pick off Darkwings that they were not able to have anything left in the tank. We were looking at Philip as being one of these ways to like be kind of the difference maker in the side lanes, but you know, they picked up an inhibitor in the top lane in the split push. They picked up a couple of structures as well, but not able to create pressure because the rest of the team is just getting engaged upon. And now Philip, ooh.
That's his teleport defensively and gets out. There we go.
That was cute. I like that. You know, pretending you're going one way, go the other, and then teleport.
I mean, it's cute, but it's not ideal. Now you're down to teleport when you're the split pusher.
That's why I said
have
cute
to worry
and
about
not
a
good.
Baron coming up in 55 seconds. This is actually pretty bad for FlyQuest.
Oh yeah, it's super tough. Like Spyrax can't really create a ton of pressure in the side lane because you are at such a big risk of getting run down by Winnie and whoever he chooses to bring with him. And now Philip, going to be going for the pushing, will not get to the inhibitor before the Baron actually spawns just because of how long it takes to kill all these super minions.
Still has 30 seconds to work with, but Joshi, I believe you're the one that even made a little handy graph of how long it takes to walk from one side of the map to the Baron. So he's got to be aware of that timer, how much time he has to work with. He's backing now, so he should make it.
He will make it, yeah, especially with home guards and because of how quickly Camille moves around the map. But we're seeing a ton of players already full build. Masu's got 5 items. Phillips on 5 items as well. Lynx, again, has already sold the boots and is on a true 6 items. And everybody on AOE is level 18, while we're still looking for a couple levels on Yuji and Kitong.
I gotta say, I took my breath before. Now I'm holding it. When's the next fight gonna be?
Should be soon. AOE are going to start going for this Baron, right? And there's no real pressure from FlyQuest to threaten it into the game. They still in Nexus turrets up and ready to go. FlyQuest, you cannot base race this. You do have to commit to the fight. It's too late.
I mean, they take that Baron so fast. FlyQuest took way too long to approach, and now they gotta go for the fight. Glacial Prison misses, so FlyQuest, they do not find their avenue in. The Challengers squad will now be struggling against a Baron-empowered AOE who are ready to take down this inhibitor yet again.
And with the base already opened up, yeah, I think they're going to be okay, but this is a very tough position to be playing in for FlyQuest. You know, the game at this point, we would normally be in a position where there's fewer and fewer wards on the board just because you don't have inventory space for them, but both Kitong and Skytech have the Watchful Ward Stone, so they have plenty of wards to actually play with, and you're noticing so much vision score. It's really just a matter of waiting for somebody to get picked out without getting traded, right? If Spyrax was not traded for Darkwings, the game would have ended about 3 minutes ago.
137 has got to be the highest vision score I've ever seen in the game.
I think it's 156, isn't it, for Kitong?
I thought it was one. Wait, really?
Oh,
37. Yeah.
All right.
Come on, Joe.
You need to see more Umbral Glaives.
I do. Yeah, true. And which is funny because I play Pantheon support, so
There you go.
And that should give you a little hint as to how my warding usually goes.
1100.
Spyrax hit by the mini Lux ult from Link right there.
Oh, Philip fighting Dark Wings on the other side. They need to find something.
can't
FlyQuest are
win this.
desperate.
Philip does a lot of damage to the Sylas, but Darkwings actually just heals most of it right on back. So, FlyQuest, they have all the wave clear. They cannot protect their turrets. They just go for Gamsu right now. Lynx jumps in, pops the ultimate as Yuumi. They have to wait it out. If FlyQuest can wait out Lynx's ult, now it's gone. This could be an avenue. They have one Nexus turret remaining. They gotta take down this Zeri. It's instead Philip that's focused onto Winnie.
Oh,
Winnie takes a lot of damage. Winnie might just go down. He's still up, though. Gamsu in the Death Realm. I believe he pulled Masu in there, and Masu's winning this 1v1. Shut down as AOE bit off more than they can chew. Now they are in retreat.
That's over a minute in the Death Chamber, and Elder Dragon has just spawned. FlyQuest has a 5v4 for the Elder coming up right now. They have 2 inhibitors down, but suddenly FlyQuest have an avenue back into the game.
This is big. 49 minutes. 7 dragons. A total of 19 turrets have been taken. And 1 Elder Dragon could be the deciding factor.
Darkwing's on the back
game. Darkwing
That's 3 inhibitors.
He's going for the base race. He has the Baron powered minion still. Likewise on the Dragon. It's going to be a 50-50 for the Dragon. And it's Philip 1v1 Darkwings. AOE are in it. Oh, Spyrax is down. Lynx has done the damage. It's up to Masu. This Sivir has to show up big right here.
Gamsu's 15 seconds. Okay, that's a kill on the other side. Philip teleporting.
Coming in. Philip wins the 1v1. They push Lynx out of the pit. Winnie can jump back in. He's polymorphed. He's got the flash. He's locked down. Winnie's just going to die to Philip. They're on the Dragon. It's secured. And that's Guardian Angel
kill him
down
again.
for Winnie. Philip goes over the wall, but he's back because the super minions, they took down the turret. That's another teleport. It's Masu. He's on the Nexus. Masu takes another kill on the Winnie, but nobody can back in time. It's UG running, but I think Gamsu gets it. His auto should do enough. Gamsu for the win. AOE take game 1.
50 and a half minutes into the game. The backdoor coming through from Gamsu. Look, this game had a lot of slow moments, but that ending made it all worth it, King. That was wild. There was an Elder Dragon. There was a big backdoor tips, another backdoor tips. Man, Challengers League is wild.
What a game, Joshi. I thought it was over like 4 different times. I'm not going to lie. It just kept going. This Sivir Zir wave clear, impossible to get through. You have to win a fight in order to close out the game, and AOE were stalled for so long. But it's the fact that AOE held off their own base defense. They were on their last inhibitor at like 30 minutes in the game, and then they held the line and brought us to the victory screen. What a game.
Yeah, what a great showing coming out from AOE Gold, right? The resilience to stay in the game. It took them a little while to actually find their footing, but it was a very decisive set of plays early on in the game that even put them in a position where they could contest, and then, just nickel and diming their opponent later on, and the way that in particular Lynx was able to play the Zeri really was a huge difference maker for this provisional roster.
Kept them in that game for a while. Shout out to Gamsu as well. I know that Gamsu lost the 1v1 against Philip right at the end there. But, I mean, literally ended the game because of the teleport flake. But also was always ulting Yuji out of those fights, ulting key members out of those fights to win the fights for AOE that kept them in the game for so long. I don't know how they're going to do better than that in game 2.
I don't know. Let's let Mark tell us.
Let's let Mark tell us after we send it to a short break, because we are going to reset a little bit here and then bring Mark on after for our halftime show while the players get ready for their game number 2 and our final game of the night. I can't believe I forgot that I even disconnected at the beginning of that game. It was so long.
It was that long. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. We're going to be right back after this break.